because we wanted to bring it up for a joint meeting between Heber City and Wasatch County, but we haven't had one yet. And so we'd just like to have Councilmember Potter present her information on municipal services, and Mike Davis talk about the creation of the fund, whether we need it or we don't, and just have an open discussion between Heber City Council member and us and the county to decide what we need to do. So, Ms. Potter.
Thank you for letting me come today and just share some information that I have discovered recently. When being on the Animal Services Board, we've been talking about creating that new shelter. And as we talked about how to fund it, the discussion for budgeting was, okay, Heber City, you're half of the population, so you pay half. Midway, you pay 20%, county pays the rest. And intuitively, you think, well, wait a minute, that's not fair because Heber City residents are already paying a portion of the county's. I don't know the exact numbers tax-wise, but we know that Heber City residents pay a portion of every dollar in the county general fund. So I started looking into this a little bit and ended up doing this for my master's project that I just finished my master's degree. So I've done a little bit of digging and talked to some people at the state auditor's office and the legislative auditor. And let me just read one section in the code that, to me, I think explains the issue best. It appears that there's a requirement. It says, if a county furnishes municipal type services and functions, and it lists what those services and functions are, to areas of the county outside of the limits of incorporated cities or towns. This is in, 17-34-3. The entire cost of the services or functions so furnished shall be defrayed from funds that the county has derived from, and it gives the option of taxes that the county can lawfully levy or impose outside the limits of incorporated towns or cities, or service charges or fees that the county may impose upon the persons benefited in any way by the services or functions or a combination of these services. It also says that in section 4, there's an annual audit requirement in 17-34-5, section 3. It says an annual audit of the budgeting, accounting for, and dispersing of funds used to furnish municipal type services and functions shall be conducted by an independent certified public accountant. So,
one question, what level of county does that code portion apply to?
Well, according to the state auditor, Jeremy Walker, who I've spoken to a couple times, he said that applies to all counties, but it's if you are a third-class county or above, you have a separate municipal services fund, and you don't keep it inside your regular budget. So if you're not that big of a county, you just would keep it in your regular budget, but people would be able to track where that money's coming from, like you would any other particular item in your budget. It's just not a separate fund. So anyway, and maybe it would all shake out to be exactly the way it is now. Maybe it wouldn't change anything, but it appears that there's a requirement that people should be able to look at your budget and say, okay, this type of service, whether it's planning or roads or something that's only benefiting people that are outside of the incorporated areas, should be funded from people who only live outside of the incorporated areas. And there are two sections that describe those services. There was an audit done by the Legislative Auditor General, actually it was in 2010, and they said that it's possible, let me see, police protection. As you know, we have a police in Heber City and you have a sheriff in the county. Heber pays about $100,000 a year, I guess, for dispatch, and Midway also pays you about $100,000 a year. So if you add up the amount per capita of what people are paying for these different services, city residents obviously are paying more because we have an extra city tax. But in some cases, it says that it's possible that city residents are subsidizing some of these services for unincorporated areas of the county. And so my purpose in doing this was not to pretend that it was exhaustive or that it has every detail or even that it's, that there isn't information that I'm missing. But I would hope that we could start a conversation about this and just make sure that everything is fair for all the residents of the county. Perhaps it would be time to do a study, a cost services analysis, to see that those monies are coming from the people who are getting the services, and just hope that we can look at this, take a serious look at it, and see if it's equitable for all the county residents. That's my hope.
Mike, do you have any comment?
I would really like to see the comment.
Yeah, I'd like to see the thing that you were showing Kendall and I last week about how the money flows in. And we talked about this.
Okay.
make one clarification too, as you mentioned, the auditor. When you talk, did you talk to the state auditor
Yes.
or the legislative auditor
I
general?
talked to both because the legislative auditor general had done that report, so I asked to talk to them, and then I also called the state auditor's office to clarify.
Because those are different auditors.
Right,
They
right.
have a different function.
State Code, Title 17, these are the municipal services that were mentioned. As you look here, municipal services as presented by the county generally, the fire protection services are provided by a district, so those are excluded. Waste and garbage collection disposal is provided by a district, so those are excluded. Planning and zoning, we do have. We have planning. We do not have street lighting. We do pay Heber City for animal services. We do not have storm drains. We do not have traffic engineering. We do not have code enforcement. We do have business licenses, and we do have building permits and inspections. So, in two of the cases, building permits and inspections and planning and zoning, we have a fee associated, which is defined in the current budget that we receive for those purposes. The monies we receive from those fees, very clearly, as you look at the budget, and as our auditors have looked at the budget, greatly exceed the expenditure for those departments. So, one misstatement that I feel was made that is the monies in Fund 10 are not proportional to Heber City. Heber City does not contribute to all of Fund 10. We have many sources of money that come outside of the Heber City area. We have federal funds, we have fees and services fees. They are not associated with Heber City at all. And those fees and those federal monies we receive are in the millions of dollars. They would fund 50 animal services. I mean, it's such a disproportionate. It's a $100,000 fee we pay right now. And we receive several $1 million just from the federal fees that aren't subject to this, as well as the fees that we receive from planning and zoning. In addition to this, you'll notice one thing that was mentioned that's not on the list. There is not law enforcement on this list. Law enforcement is not subject to municipal type services. So dispatch, any of that is not subject to this. So I'm all for what's on the fair side. That's great. We can do that. I think it's just as fair as if municipal police department instigates new camera programs that cost the county tens of thousands of dollars to buy new equipment to handle their pictures because we have to prosecute those in the attorney's office. We don't get to collect that money back from them. We just have to do it. And so I think we're nitpicking at things here a little bit. We can certainly do it. The other thing I wanted to show, I guess, as we've been audited, which we have every year, and we've looked at that, they've looked at these issues, they've told us we are in compliance. We can have municipal services fund. There's nothing that prevents us from having that. We are not required. And we can pay for any of those services that are on that list with any of our general funds, because we are a fourth-class county at this point. When we become a third-class county, which is likely by the next census, we will have to establish the fund as well as a municipal capital facilities or projects fund, that identifies any projects. We will have to put the money in the fund, and then the fund will have to pay for the service directly instead of paying directly out of the general fund. There's no requirement for us to do that at this point, according to the people who audited us, and the state auditor's office has accepted our audit. So apparently getting mixed signals. If we're telling Heber City one thing, they're telling us something different. Because this issue has
come up several times before we have asked the question as well. So I don't know where to go from that. Currently, from my perspective, we're in compliance completely with state code. But we can talk about it. It's fine to talk. All we'll do is it will cost more money to set these things up. I don't see a reason to spend more money until we have to. That's what I'm looking at. As far as the best way to solve this problem, I think, is in this area, is to basically like animal services. Let's establish a district for animal services. Get out. Let's do our own. We don't need to be part of it. Heber cities. Let's just do our own. We can do it. It'll end up costing us not a lot more, but then we don't have to get into these types of discussions, because then it's only billed directly to the unincorporated area. Or if a town like Charleston or Waldburg wants to participate in ours, they can. It's not subject to municipal services fund because they're paying for the service directly. So those are things that we can do to isolate. If it's a problem, let's isolate it. Let's get rid of it. I don't want problems either, but that's the easiest way to get rid of it. So let's just be done with that.
Working away with that, I don't know the Heber side, but the other way of that is to establish a county-wide animal services, and then we tax everybody equal.
And that would be done. That could be done as well.
If we contract with Heber City to run that county-wide shelter, that's another option. And you and I have talked about that.
Don't we run into a problem with different ordinances though, different requirements we have in the past?
Well, that's what one thing we've been trying to do is.
So we have our own for the unincorporated area, we have our own ordinance that defines leash law and fencing requirement and all that, and then we enforce our own. We don't have to worry about the other folks not liking what we have, like Daniel and Heber and so on.
Well, it's very confusing for the current animal control officers, because
Depending on what side of the road they're
what
on.
invisible line they cross with the road, it may be one ordinance versus another, so it makes it very difficult for them. And the sheriff's the same way. See, because the sheriff still has to enforce criminal activity associated with that. The dog tax person, and that's some of the sheriff's department as well, so we still have those issues to deal with. But I'm more than happy to, through our audit that you received, as we go through that, these funds. We have not specifically set up a municipal services fund that identifies where those funds come from. So we've not done that.
For the public's information, Wasatch County is at the current time is a class 4 county. The breaking line is when we exceed 31,000 people in the county, then we go to a class 3 county. And has been explained, then some other things come on, and we do have to have that fund, and we have to run that a little bit different under those things that apply under the fund. But until we reach that level, we don't have to do it. It's not optional.
When do you wait until the census, or because I saw in this U.S. Census the estimate for July 2015 was like 29,000 something.
It's the lieutenant governor, I believe.
Oh, is that where you?
The lieutenant governor makes the.
And then they tell you when you are.
He probably will wait till the census, but maybe not. He might pull the trigger before. I don't know what he'll use to get the count before to know whether it's.
There's two different things that the lieutenant governor's office has done in the past. They take the census, which comes over 10 years. So 2010 was our last, and that becomes the figure. They then do estimates of growth in between. I don't know at what point, if he would take that estimate or if he would wait until the actual next census to say, you're there, this is the figure. But until, I don't think he's got the resources. They don't do a census to estimate the census. Only the U.S. Census does that. The state just does estimates based upon growth predictions and building permits and a lot of things like that. But in the county like ours, 40% of the unincorporated area building permits are secondary homes. There's no population permits. There's lots of building permits without population permits. And so,
Except on the weekend.
well, resident.
I know what you mean.
I'll clarify that. Resident population.
So it'll be 3 or 4 years before we get that down.
Well, the census doesn't come until 2020. Whether or not the lieutenant governor will take those estimates and say, yeah, you're a class 2 county now, I really don't know. And that could happen. But even if it happens, that's fine. We can show the separate sources of money. Our fund 10, we only receive out of the $20 million, only about $8 million comes from taxes, from property taxes, which are specific to capital assessments.
Councilman Potter?
Just historically, back when this was put together, we were exactly in the place we are now. Heber City had a dog or an animal control system. They were going to build a shelter. We had our own based on what the sheriff was doing. They came to us and said, let's participate together. Enough amounts were negotiated. For the first few years, we took them on actual calls. And so it was a negotiated number. Maybe things have changed, but it was certainly put together that way, and it was very close to being economical for us to do our own at the time. Just give that for reference. We're right back where we started probably 20 years ago.
And that's just one of the things on that list.
But this is something that is visible.
Ms. Potter, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. In 17-36-3, it has a different list of those things. I don't know if you looked at that one where it included police. Let's see. Municipal service means a service not provided on a countywide basis and not accounted for in an enterprise fund and includes police patrol, fire protection, culinary or irrigation water retail service, which you have special service districts, water conservation, local parks, sewers, sewage treatment and disposal, cemeteries, garbage and refuse collection, street lighting, airports, planning and zoning, local streets and curbs. Anyway, that's when they said the police one, but I don't know if you saw that section as well.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Good, is that?
Councilmember Potter, are you satisfied with what Mike's presented other than that one element on the law system?
Yeah, I still think you should be able to see those numbers in your budget, whether it's a separate fund or not. It appears, the state auditor said it still should be shown in your budget that where those resources are coming from, even though you don't have a separate fund.
Is that required by code?
I think it is, and that's what Jeremy Walker said, but maybe you should talk to them. He just said that they haven't done a separate audit on this particular issue, like if your county audit is not on this particular issue. He said you still should be able to look at your budget and see those numbers. Are you talking about the PILT money, about the federal money that you're saying that comes to the
Some of that is the portion not attributable to Heber City. The other portion of the code defines the dollar amounts we can use to do that. It says
I see.
we have several sources of that as well.
Yeah.
Do we show in our budget where what she's saying, send out this element?
Everything, all the income in our budget goes to Fund 10 list. That's the budget that was presented like that the other day. And as you recall, when we look at Park and Rec and all these others, those are different funds. We have 30 different funds in Wasatch County. But all of the services that are defined within that are in the Fund 10 at this time. None of those services are, well, that's separate service districts are
They're excluded.
and they're excluded.
So it's in the budget. If they look at Fund 10, you'll see it coming in.
Well, I think what she's saying is, the way a municipal services fund is set up, you have to specifically say, okay, these fees that we receive from building permits now going not into Fund 10, but they're going to the municipal services fund.
Yeah.
And these fees that we receive from planning and zoning for subdivisions goes into the municipal services fund. And then those departments are under that fund instead of under Fund 10.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way that municipal services fund works. Because we're not required to yet have municipal services fund, we can't divide that up. So the planning and zoning department and the building department have to be under Fund 10 at this time because we don't have another fund taken over. So all revenues we see, taxes, fees, everything has to be in Fund 10. So there's no other way to account for them by fund.
So it's your recommendation that we don't do anything different right now unless we want to make an animal services, special services?
We can do whatever we want to. I don't think it's necessary, but if that's the way the council would like to go, then
What's your recommendation?
Can change things.
What's your recommendation?
I would recommend not to.
Council, any other